الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. When we look at today's dynamic between a parent and a child, there's a unique twist to what we experience on a daily basis. There's a unique difference that we might have compared to other cultures and societies, specifically the Western society, and that is that there is a generational gap between the parent and the child. There's a generational gap, but there's also a social gap. There's a cultural gap. One thing we have to realize is that us children, or us included, we were born and raised in this country, in the US. Our parents might not be. That creates this gap between the parent and the child that if you don't really recognize that gap and understand what it means, how it affects our communication, how it affects how we show affection and love, but also how it affects how we show respect. If you don't understand that dynamic, if you don't understand that gap, well then birrul walidain is very difficult. Respecting your parents is very, very difficult because we won't understand how to respect our parents. At the same time, we won't understand how to understand their expectations of us as children. And this applies to the children in the audience today. When we look at khutbahs in the past, always geared towards the parents. Today we're going to do a twist. It's going to be geared towards the kids, inshallah. So parents, bear with us. But ultimately, if you look at the gap, again, going back to it, it hinders the communication in several ways. When you look at how we were brought up, we have a Western-influenced set of standards for how we expect our parents to interact with us. That might be influenced by what we see with our friends, what we see on the media, what we see on TV, on movies, etc. But when you look at our parents' experience and their perspective, they have a different way that they were brought up. They're brought up in a different country, in a different perspective, in a different experience, with a different cultural norm, with a different set of standards that they have to abide by. And if you don't understand that gap, you don't understand their expectations of you and what they were brought up in and their conditions, well then, as we said earlier, there's a gap, there's a hindrance to respecting your parents. However, one thing is very, very certain. Alhamdulillah, as Muslims, one thing is always certain, and if you turn to the Quran and the Sunnah, you will find advice and you will find valuable lessons that transcends any social, any cultural gap that exists. Any advice that you see in the Quran transcends time, transcends cultural barriers, transcends geographical location. Wherever you are in the world, you can apply the virtues and the lessons from the Quran and from the Sunnah. In today's khutbah, inshallah, we're going to look at some of these virtues, some of these lessons, but also understand how do we best contextualize the expectation that we have from our parents, and how do we best abide by those expectations. And most importantly, how do we respect our parents? One thing is for sure in Islam, that Islam ranks our parents incredibly highly. Incredibly highly, to the point where we don't fully understand how high parents are viewed as, or how high their standard is, and their place and their position as Muslims. Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Isra, بعدما أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا. He mentions this several other times in the Quran. That Allah ordains for you to worship only Allah, to be obedient only to Allah Azza wa Jal, and to worship and to enjoin kindness to your parents. Followed immediately after worshiping only Allah Azza wa Jal. To understand this dynamic, to understand why it's important that we look at obedience and tawheed to Allah Azza wa Jal and then parents right after, you have to look at, understand the weight of obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. Musa alayhi salam once asked Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Allah, grant me a dhikr, grant me something that I can say, something that I can remember you with, that is special to me, that only I will remember you with. And that's standard for all of us. We always want something unique, we always want something special, we always want something custom, something tailored, that only applies to us, so that we can feel special. Musa alayhi salam had that same request, had that same mentality. Allah responds with, Ya Musa, say, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Standard, very, very simple words. La ilaha illallah. Musa comes back and says, Ya Allah, no, I want something special, I want something different. Your ummah, everyone already says, La ilaha illallah. I want something more special, I want something more unique. Again, we always want something more unique, we always want something more special, so that we can set ourselves apart from the rest of the pack. That is standard. Allah says, Ya Musa, if the 7 earths and the 7 skies are placed on one side of a scale, and the word La ilaha illallah is placed on the other, which do you think would outweigh the other? La ilaha illallah would outweigh the 7 worlds, 7 earths, 7 heavens, and 7 skies. SubhanAllah. That is the way of La ilaha illallah. We might not be able to understand this fully just yet, but when you look at وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that La ilaha illallah part, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, following that after La ilaha illallah is tremendous. If La ilaha illallah weighs more than the 7 heavens and 7 earths, what do you think respecting your parents weighs? How heavy do you think that is in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal? How important do you think it is as Muslims? Should that be our focus and should that be at the forefront of our minds? Most certainly. Is it at the moment? Unfortunately, no. And that is where we are lacking as a society, and that is where we are lacking as the youth generation. That, along with that social, that cultural gap that we have that's existent right now between us and our parents, has hindered our ability to fully comprehend وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and to associate that and to understand its weight and its significance in context of وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And again, several times in the Quran, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا, repeats several times, time and time and again. But do we understand the full weight of it? Do we understand the magnificence of it? And do we understand its implication of our daily lives? Have we given it its right due? Unfortunately, we haven't. But today, inshallah, we'll look at ways to understand how we haven't, but ways to implore and to ensure that we do in the future. Going back to the ayah in Surah Al-Isra, Allah mentions وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Allah mentions, your Lord has decreed they should not worship anyone except Him. La ilaha illallah. And He has enjoined kindness to your parents. Should any of them or both reach old age at your side, do not say uff to them, and do not chide them, do not speak with them, do not belittle them, and speak to them noble words. Honor them, make sure that they have the respect, and you give them their qeem, as we say, give them their respect, give them their honor that they deserve. One thing we have to understand is that the rights of your parents on you are incredibly massive. It is not, again, another thing we don't fully understand on a daily basis. The rights that your parents have over you as their child is truly massive. Don't think that you are a blessing in their eyes, and don't think that you are there for them. No, they are there for you, but most importantly, you have a set of standards they have to abide by, and a set of respect, a guideline of respect you have to ensure that you're acting by on a daily basis. Only those who are parents now, subhanAllah, can understand the sacrifices, the burdens, and the hardships of being a parent. As a kid, when you're on the receiving end of love, It's very easy to receive, to take, to receive love, to receive affection, to receive support, emotional, financial, educational, etc. But you don't understand what goes into it. It's not until you become a parent and you have your kids, then you understand the sacrifices, the burdens, the long hours, the endless nights, working through sickness, being a father, being a mother. It's not until you have your own set of kids, until you have a child, that you understand the sacrifices and the hardships. When you're children, again, on the receiving end, it's very easy to live in a la-la land and to sort of enjoy everything without giving your parents respect. Unfortunately, the case is, it's not until we're a parent, then we regret how we treated our parents when we were younger. It's not until we're older that we regret to think, I wish I had more time with my parents, I wish I was more obedient, I wish I was more respectful, most importantly, I wish I was more kind, and I wish I spent more time with them. As a kid, the name of the game is, how do we avoid regret? You don't want to set yourself up for failure in the future and put yourself in a position of regret, where you regret not obeying your parent, not being obedient to your parents, and not obeying your parents on a daily basis. Again, when you're a parent, you understand the sacrifices, and that regret starts to come in. I wish I did this for my parents, and I wish my kids know the level of respect in the situation that is at hand. Allah mentions in Surah Luqman, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ الْمَصِيرُ. That we have enjoined man concerning his parents. His mother carried him weakness upon weakness, and his weaning takes 2 years. Give thanks to me and to your parents. Give thanks to me, to Allah Azza wa Jal, and to your parents. Give thanks where thanks is due. To me is the ultimate return. What they have done for us, what they have done for you, your parents, is incredibly valuable. And it's something that cannot be repaid financially or with words of affirmation. Sure, as kids, our end goal is to sort of buy mama a house, retire my parents, buy them something special, and take care of them financially. Now, sure, that is incredibly warranted. Sure, that is a very valid end goal, something incredibly honorable and something incredibly kind of you to do. But have you taken the moment to sit down and ask your parents, what is it that they expect from you? How is it that you can repay them? Have you taken the time to sit down with your mother and say, Mama, how can I help you? Mama, how can I repay you? What do you expect from me? Most of the time, it won't be, Wuldi, buy me a house. Binti, buy me this. Binti, do this for me. It won't be that. It will most likely be spend more time with me. Help me around the house. Help me with chores. Small, subtle things that we fully don't understand the gravity of. Small things that we've neglected time and time again, simply because we thought our parents don't want us to do that. But have you sat down to have that clear communication between you and your parent and see what is it they expect from you? You'd be surprised at what they would expect. They might expect simply just sit down and spend some time with them. They might expect, if they want to go out to a grocery shopping, go out with them. If your dad says, come with me, let's go somewhere, help me around the house, they just want to help you. They just want you to help them. The things that our parents expect from us are very, very small, but we don't know them. That lack of communication right there has hindered the parent-child dynamic. That lack of communicating, Baba, how can I help you? Mama, how can I help you? Without that initiative, you won't go anywhere. Without that initiative, you won't be able to better respect and better be obedient to your parents. Unfortunately, it is that initiative that we have been lacking time and time again. Their value can also not be described in words or phrases, as we mentioned. Words of affirmation sometimes might not cut it. Sure, you can say, Mama, thank you, Mama, I love you, Baba, I love you, etc. But that might not mean everything to them. Again, they might just want you to spend some quality time with them. They might just want you to sort of open up to them more, be more vocal about your goals, be more vocal about your end goals, be more vocal about what you're feeling, what you want, and spend some time with them. And again, what we expect from our parents and what we think they expect from us is very, very different. Very, very different. If you don't have that clear communication with your parents, sit down with them, say, Mama, Baba, what do you expect from me? How can I help you? How can I be there for you? You're somewhat of a loss. You will never know what they expect from you, and by the time it's too late, you cannot go back. Unfortunately, there's no rewind button, there's no go back and fix what you have done. We don't have that, unfortunately. From the rights that they have upon you is love and respect. You must love, most importantly, you must respect your parents. Respect can go a long way in any context. You respect your friends, you respect your colleagues, you respect your boss. When you get home, you respect your parents. If they tell you no, do you take that into consideration, or do you say, you let it come in from one ear and out the other ear and go do whatever it is that you want to do? When you talk to your parents and you respond to them, do you respond in a harsh tone, or do you respond in a kind tone? Are you patient with your parents, or are you impulsive? Impulsivity can go a long ways in terms of ruining everything. What happens when you're impulsive is when you start to become impulsive and respond quick without considering what you're thinking or what you're saying or what you're doing, it leads to consequence, and it leads to regret. The minute you reach that regret stage, you can't go back. You've already said what you've said, you've already done what you've done, damage has already been done. You can't rewind time and fix what you've done. As a kid, you have to understand that. It's very hard to not be impulsive. If your parents say no, they're not saying no to say no. They see something that you don't see. They have an eye of caution that comes with parenthood, that as children we don't have. It's not until you're an adult, as we talked about earlier. They have an eye of caution that they can see with, that you can't see with. If they say no, you can't hang out with your friends, it's not because they don't want you to go out and have fun. is because maybe your friends aren't the best crowd to be with. So maybe because you're going to waste your time or waste your money or waste your energy when you have something else to be working on. It might be because you have a homework assignment due the next day and you're setting that aside or you're forgetting about it. They have an eye of caution that you can't see with, that we have to understand. Another right they have upon you is honoring and listening to them. Now, listening to them is very, very different from hearing them. You can hear someone, I can hear you, you can hear me very loud and very clear, but are you listening? Are you letting whatever they say come in from one ear, not the other, as we said? Or do you take what they say into consideration? Actually process what they're saying. If they say, I want you to spend some time with me, what did that look like for you? Does that just look like sitting down next to them on your phone the whole time? Or conversing with them and actually interacting with them, asking them questions about their past, asking them questions, and you answering questions, etc. Are you listening to them when they say, I need you to do this for me? Do you just say, yes, I will, and forget it? Or do you actually add it to your list of things to do? You make the time for it, you block off the time, and add it to your tasks. It's all about listening and active listening, not just hearing. We can hear someone, but that will slip your mind very quickly. Before they even done talking, you'll forget what they had said. How guilty are we of that on a daily basis with our parents? How guilty are we of listening to them, of hearing them, but not listening, subhanAllah. Another right is speaking to them in the best of manners. Going back to the impulsivity, it is very easy to say, oof. It's very easy to say no. It's very easy to yell, very easy to raise your voice. But can you speak with your parents in a respectful manner, in a way that ensures that they remain calm, peaceful, tranquil? Last thing you want is an angry parent. We've all been there, subhanAllah. But can you speak with them in a respectful manner where you maintain your composure? Maintaining your composure is one of the hardest things. Controlling your nafs, controlling your tongue is one of the hardest things. There's a reason why you had nafs and you had lisan. It's a very, very difficult thing. But when it comes to your parents, you have to ensure that you do that the most there. Sure, you can hold your tongue when you're talking with your friends or talking with your colleagues. When it comes to your parents, you have to hold your tongue even more then. Because again, you don't see something that they see. If you say something that is impulsive, that is rash, that is quick, you're going to regret it in the next day. You'll regret it in the next few minutes. But once you say it, you cannot take it back. You cannot take back words, you cannot take back actions once they're already done. It's best to constrain yourself from saying anything bad, just so you can avoid that regret and avoid the consequence of whatever comes after. They also have a right that you humble yourself in front of your parents. You cannot come into your parents and say, I want to do this, I want to do that, you can't stop me. Western media might tell you to do so. Western social media might tell you to stand up to your parents, voice your concerns, voice your ego, voice your fears, voice your goals in the future, and don't let anyone get in the way of that. As Muslims, that is not true. That is very, very far from true. Your parents are there for you as a resource, and they're there for you to support you. If you come in with a big ego, thinking you're all proud, you're almighty, you're all high, you've ruined that dynamic very, very quick. That's going to affect how you speak. It's going to affect what you perceive of them. That's also going to affect if you're going to listen or you're going to hear them. You need to humble yourself in front of your parents, even if they might be in the wrong. Parents are never right. Parents are never always correct. Even if they're in the wrong, humble yourself in front of your parents. Say, Baba, I understand. Mama, I understand. No worries. Sounds good. And then come back to it if it's bothering you again. Don't let a situation, don't let a problem, don't let an argument let you or deter you away from your parents in any regards. Allah mentions after the ayah, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that you need to lower the wing of humility before them by showing mercy and compassion and the best of manners. And Islam has made all of this from the most beloved deeds of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah mentions, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. What a beautiful dua. رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. How merciful were our parents to us when we were younger? How many times did they forget or did they forgive? How many times did they say, Wuldi, that's fine, no worries, it's okay that you did this, it's okay that you did that, let's move on? Are we merciful to them as well? Do we show that mercy when they're older? Do we show that mercy when we're in a heated argument? Do we show that mercy when they say, no, you can't do this, or no, you can't do that? Or are we rash and are we impulsive? Unfortunately, we don't. وَلَكِنْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. A very big thing to be aware of is disrespecting your parents. Disrespecting your parents, along with saying something that is not supposed to be said, doing something that is not supposed to be done, is one of the worst things you can do in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The Prophet of Allah, Muhammad ﷺ, mentions in a hadith that he said to his Sahaba, should I inform you of the greatest of major sins? He said this 3 times. Should I inform you of the greatest of major sins? Should I inform you of the greatest of major sins? Should I inform you of the greatest of major sins? The Sahaba, the companions, are all very excited, like, yes, like, what is it? We want to know so we can avoid it. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned associating partners with Allah and disrespecting your parents. These 2 are the major sins that you could do. And again, we understand, we know now, we've contextualized the way of La ilaha illallah, of obedience and tawheed to Allah Azza wa Jal. We know that from the story of Musa and Allah Azza wa Jal. Now disobedience to your parents. If you have both of them, if you're not doing both, you're at a very, very big loss. If you're, alhamdulillah, you believe in Allah, you abide by La ilaha illallah, but you're disrespecting your parents, you are still very much at a loss. These are the things that you have to be aware of. Make sure that you hold your tongue. It will be very, very difficult. I can assure you, it always is. Make sure you hold your tongue and do not react in retaliation. Do not retaliate against your parents. If they say no, don't come back and do something that would anger them. Don't huff and puff, walk away, and not hop around the house. Don't huff and puff and walk away and say, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, and you give them the silent treatment if they gave it to you. Don't huff and puff and walk away and say, you know what, I'm not going to talk to you, I'm not going to listen to what you do. We're done for next week or we're done for next month. Don't let that be the case. Do not let that be the case whatsoever. Train yourself to be patient, but most importantly, train yourself to think before you react. Try to shift your perspective and see from their perspective, see from their eyes. If they're saying no, why are they saying no? Be confident and be honest and be vulnerable to have the open communication. Say, Baba, Mama, why are you saying no? What's wrong? Why can't I do this? Most of the time, that's going to cool both parties, both sides of the argument. They're going to calm down, you're going to calm down, and they'll explain to you why they're saying no. They're going to explain to you why you can't play video games all night, because again, it's detrimental to your health. They're going to explain to you why you shouldn't be eating this, why you shouldn't be going and hanging out with this individual, why you shouldn't be doing so, etc., etc., etc. And again, all of it comes from a perspective and from an eye of caution that we can't see, but Allah has given as a blessing to our parents and from their mercy. Sometimes, and this is where we really look at sort of the day in the life of our children today, is sometimes, and this is geared towards children, so I definitely pay attention. You might feel that your parent is intruding. You might feel that whenever your parent does, they're always intruding, they're always asking too many questions, they're always wanting to be involved in your life, and you're just sick and tired of it. Well, let's take a moment and analyze what it truly means. This is where the social standards, this is where the social and cultural gap comes into play. When your mother comes and sits next to you, maybe brings you some food, maybe brings you some slices of fruit. She doesn't want to come in and invade your privacy. She wants to spend time with you because you've been very distant. You haven't been talking to her as frequently. You've been ignoring her when you walk into the house after school. She doesn't want to come in and intrude on your life. She doesn't want to take away from your time. She misses you. You don't see that because, again, she has a different standard of what she expects from you. You have a different standard of what you expect from your parent. If your mother comes and sits next to you, she's not intruding. She wants to spend more time with you and be there with you. You've been distant and neglecting your mother for quite some time. When your dad wakes you up for Fajr or says, come with me, we're going to go somewhere. He doesn't want to punish you. He doesn't want to take away from your time. He doesn't want to wake you up. He doesn't want to take away from your sleep. He wants what is best for you. He wants to see you succeed in the deen, but also to see you succeed in the life, in this dunya. If he's saying, come with me to Home Depot, chances are he wants to teach you something. He wants to teach you about something, how to fix something in the house if there's a leaky faucet. He wants to teach you how to repair a tire should that happen in your life. If your dad wakes you up for Fajr, he doesn't want to take away from your sleep, as you mentioned. He wants to see you succeed in the deen. He wants to see you pray Fajr on time, get into that habit, and also set up that routine for you. You might have a different way of showing it, but again, you have to see everything from their perspective. It is not enough to have them conform to you. Parents should not conform to their children. It is us children that we should conform to our parents. Understand what do they do, why do they do it, and how do you best understand that dynamic and ensure that we can show the respect and appreciate their efforts, most importantly. Parents' efforts have gone long unappreciated for the longest time. The reason being, we have that cultural barrier. We have that gap between social standards and between the generations that unfortunately we haven't fully understood. The minute we understand it, the minute we can look at it and analyze these cases and see them happen in our daily lives, the minute a light will turn on and you'll be more appreciative of your parents, but also show them more respect. When your mom comes and asks you what happened at school today, or if she sees you on your phone and you're laughing and she wants to laugh with you and she asks you what's funny, or if you're hanging out with your friends, or if there's an inside joke between you and your siblings and she asks you, I want to learn, I want to know what the joke is, again, she's not intruding. She's not being nosy. She wants to know what is making you happy, what is making you laugh, so she can be part of your happiness. Your parents are never intruding. They want to contribute to whatever it is that they're contributing, that will make you happy, that will make you succeed. They have a different way of showing it. We have a different way of perceiving it. We have to understand how do they show it and how to be more appreciative of it. When your parents ask you, where are you going? Or if they call you 24/7, if you're out and about with your friends, if it's during the day, if it's during the night, they're not spying on you. Again, they're not intruding on you. They want to know, are you safe? Are you healthy? Are you okay? Has something come up? Are you in a bad place? Do you need someone to come pick you up? They're not intruding. At first, when you see a log of 7 missed calls from mama or baba, you're going to think, okay, what do they want? In reality, they just want your safety. They just want what's good for you. We need to be able to see that and understand that ever so clearly. And this might be the reality for many of us here present today. When your mom says no outside food at home, or she gets mad when you order delivery, it's very easy now, DoorDash and Uber Eats and all sorts of platforms. When you order food and your mama gets mad, she's not mad because you've spent your money and you've wasted your money. Maybe, obviously we don't want to waste money like that. But it's most likely because she spent hours in the kitchen cooking your favorite meal, cooking something that she'd know you'd enjoy, but you ordered something else and you've neglected her cooking. You didn't show appreciation for what she has put in, her time and her effort and her resources. Again, we fail to understand how our parents show appreciation and how they show their concern and their caution over us. It is important that we stand and from their perspective and see what is that they're doing, how can we show appreciation for it, and ensure that we have that dynamic locked in. Do not let the cultural gap that we have between us and our parents, and is definitely present in the moment, do not let that hinder your ability to respect your parents, to show them that you love them, to show them that you appreciate them, and to build on that relationship and make sure that it is strong and firm. When we look at the Quran, we look at two great examples of two of the prophets who have made beautiful du'as regarding their parents, but also understood the importance and understood the weight and have showed their appreciation for the parents. The first was Prophet Sulaiman. Prophet Sulaiman made a very special dua in Surah An-Naml, and he said, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَاهُ وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ. He said, my Lord, inspire me to give thanks to you and to my parents. He understood the assignment, as they all say. He understood that his parents have put in effort and time and resources and blood and sweat and tears into his being, into his well-being. It is only fit that we show appreciation and ask Allah to grant us the ability to show appreciation more. And he also had mentioned, and that I may do righteous deeds which please you, and admit me by your mercy among your righteous servants. The second prophet is Prophet Ibrahim. In Surah Ibrahim mentions, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. Oh Lord, forgive me and my parents and all the faithful on the day when the reckoning is held. These prophets recognize the blessings of their parents. They recognize the weight that the parents have in their eyes and in this dunya, and they recognize the need to show appreciation. Appreciating your parents is a means of respecting your parents. If you don't appreciate your parents, the respect is not there. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. In the little time we have left, I wanted to end with a very, very important story, definitely one that has been heard multiple times, and you might know some bits and pieces of it, and also just a quick reminder in the end. During the time of Muhammad ﷺ, there was a young man named Al-Qama. Al-Qama was one of the Sahaba. He was Shadidul Ibad. He was very, very powerful. He was very, very committed to worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla. He was very obedient to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He would fast all these that he could, pray all the salawat that he could, the nawafil, the sunnah, everything that he could. And he would use very, very excessive in spending for charity. He had all the boxes checked. Salat, siyam, zakat, charity, everything else locked in. One time when he was very, very sick, on the verge of dying, his wife sent for the Prophet ﷺ, sent a message to inform him that Al-Qama is dying. What should we do? Send someone to check him out, send someone to make sure that he's good. What is the process? What should we do? Now this is where there's some ikhtilaf in the story, some differences where some of the shuyukh and ulama different who the Prophet ﷺ sent. But for this story, he sent Ammar radiallahu anhu, Suhaib and Bilal radiallahu anhu. When they got to Al-Qama, they got to him, the Prophet ﷺ told them, the messengers, to tell him to recite the Shahada. Again, he's on the verge of death. That is standard approach. When they got to him and they told him to recite the Shahada, they noticed that he couldn't say it. He physically could not say the Shahada. It's almost as if his tongue was incapable of uttering the words, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Imagine that for a second. Imagine your tongue unable to speak and utter certain words. Now initially everyone was scared, everyone was worried. What do we do? Someone's on their deathbed, someone's dying, they can't say the Shahada, what do we do? They sent a message to the Prophet ﷺ, told him here's what happened. The first thing that the Prophet ﷺ said was, are either of his parents alive? Are either of his parents alive? They responded, his mother's alive, but she's very old, she's very sick, she's very ill, she's very frail, she can't quite move. The Prophet ﷺ said, send to her and ask her to come. If she can't come, I will come to her. They sent a messenger to Al-Qama. They got there, they told her, here's what happened. The Prophet ﷺ wants to see you, he wants to speak with you. If you can't make it, he will come to you. She said, absolutely not, I'm coming to him. SubhanAllah. Look at the love that people had for the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah grant us the ability to see him, to speak with him, and to be united with him. She said, absolutely not, let me grab my stick, let me grab my walking stick, my cane, and I will come to him. She's a very frail, very old, very ill lady. She still made the effort, and she came to the Prophet ﷺ. When she got to the Prophet ﷺ, he asked her, Ya Al-Qama, reveal to me the situation, what is your situation with your son? How did Al-Qama treat you when he was younger, recently in the past few years, when you got sick, when you weren't sick? What was that relationship like? What was that dynamic like? She said, Ya Rasulullah, he prays much, he fasts a great deal, he spends a great amount of charity. But then he asked her, what about you? How did he treat you? He asked her again, how did he treat you? That was the most important part. How did he treat you? She said, Ya Rasulullah, I am angry with him. SubhanAllah. I am angry with him. The Prophet ﷺ said, why is that? She responded with, he has preferred his wife over myself. He's preferred something of this dunya, something that is not from something that is not connected to your parents, over his single mother, over his mother who held him, who cared for him when he was sick, who held him in the womb for 9 months. All that applied here. He preferred his wife over his mother. Muhammad ﷺ said, Ya Alqamah, surely your anger has prevented Alqamah's tongue from saying the shahada. He turned to Bilal radiallahu anhu and said, gather a few sticks, gather a few pieces of wood, and bring them here. She said, Ya Rasulullah, why are you getting wood? Like, what's the occasion? What are we doing? He said, we're going to burn him. This was the punishment for what he has done. He said, I will burn him in front of your eyes. Immediately, the rahmah from his mother came into play. That parental mercy that they have for us, that eye of caution, the eye of worry, that eye of safety has come into play. She said, Ya Rasulullah, do not do this. I love him, he is my son. Do not burn him. She couldn't see her son suffer. Even though he disrespected her, even though he preferred his wife over herself, as a sick old woman. SubhanAllah. Look at the mercy of your parents. How true is this of us today? How true is it that even when our parents are sick, even when they're mad at us, after we said something we shouldn't have said, after we've done something we shouldn't have done, they still say, come eat. They still take care of us. They still clothe us. They still support us educationally, financially, emotionally, spiritually, everything of that nature is all the check boxes that we have, yet we don't understand the full benefit. We don't understand the opportunity at hand and the gravity of the situation at hand. Yet they still love us, subhanAllah, even after we disrespect them. Muhammad ﷺ then said, Ya Alqamah, Allah's torment, Allah's punishment is severe and is far more lasting. Therefore, if you want Allah to forgive him, be content with him, be happy with him, be fine with him. I swear by Allah in whose hand my soul is, Alqamah's praying, fasting, and spending in charity are all of no benefit until you are happy with him, as long as you are not, all of no benefit as long as you are not happy with him. Look at the gravity of the importance of respecting our parents. You can be the best Muslim, you can be the most pious Muslim on paper, but if your relationship with your parent is not in check, if it's lacking in any regards, if the respect is not there, if you're not listening to them, if you're not respectful of them, if you're not humbling yourself in front of them, if you're not spending time with them, quality time, not just sitting down on your phone nearby, everything that you have done is all in vain, subhanAllah. Muhammad ﷺ then mentions, he calls upon all of the people around and says, come. All the people around in the nearby vicinity come to witness sort of what was going to happen. The Prophet then says to Bilal, go to Alqamah and see if he's not able to say the shahada. His mother forgave him. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I am fine, he's okay. But the Prophet wanted to double check. He wanted to make sure that is she saying this just for his sake, for the Prophet's sake, or is she content with him? He double checks, he reaffirms, and he makes sure that alhamdulillah, Alqamah is indeed content with her son. He then tells Bilal to go to check on Alqamah and see if he's able to say the shahada. He goes, by the time he reaches his door, he hears the shahada from inside, and by then, Alqamah had passed away, and he was able to give the shahada, alhamdulillah. At his funeral, the Prophet ﷺ calls upon all the Muslims and calls upon everyone nearby, all the Sahaba, all the Ansar and Muhajirin, and says, Ya Ansar, Ya Muhajirin, if any one of you favors his wife over his mother, Allah and his angels and all mankind will curse him. Allah does not accept his beneficence and his uprightness unless he repents towards Allah Azza wa Jal, the glorious, the majestic, and reconciles with his mother and attains her pleasure. Reconciliation, attaining her pleasure. Even after you do something wrong that you shouldn't have done, there is still an opportunity. As long as your parent does not pass away, as long as they're still in this dunya, still alive and walking on this earth, there is always time to reconcile with your parents and to attain their pleasure. Once they pass away, one of your doors of Jannah is closed. Your parents are two doors to Jannah for you. If one passes away, one of those doors is closed. The second passes away, both of those doors are closed. Make sure that as long as those two doors are still open, maximize on your opportunity. Maximize on respecting your parents, being honorable towards your parents, listening to your parents, and ensuring that you respect them truly and that you obey your parents, as Allah Azza wa Jal and the Prophet have ordained us to do. The Prophet ﷺ then continues on and says, for Allah's pleasure consists in her pleasure. Allah's pleasure is rooted in your parents' pleasure. If they are content with you, alhamdulillah, Allah is content with you. If they are not content with you, then you might not even be able to say the shahada on your deathbed. We ask Allah to protect us from that dilemma and ask Allah to hopefully make our parents content with us in this dunya and the akhirah. And Allah's anger consists in her anger. If your parents are angry with you, Allah is angry with you. Look how important your parents are. Look how a pivotal role they play in your life. Goes back to وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Everything that you do for Allah Azza wa Jal is connected to your parents. If whatever you do that is for sincere ikhlas to Allah Azza wa Jal, as either be respecting your parents, being obedient to your parents, then alhamdulillah, Allah, you will be respectful and obedient to Allah, and Allah will reward you for that. If your parents are angry with you, Allah is angry with you. Look at that chain of reaction, subhanAllah. One thing we must remember is do not let the current situation flee. Do not delay reconciling with your parents. Do not delay attaining their pleasure. Do not delay sitting down and having that communication, that talk. ربما after this, of Baba, Mama, how can I better respect you? How do I better obey you? What is it that you expect from me? It might be hard at first. It might be very, very awkward. It is very awkward to come to our parents with this type of stuff. However, the benefit of it, the reward of it is truly, truly something that we cannot grasp. The understanding of what is it they expect from you will not only shape the future dynamic between you and your parent, but alhamdulillah, will make everything smoother from then on there. I can guarantee you that. It will make everything smoother because now you understand how it is to obey your parents. You better understand what is it they expect from you and what is it they look forward in your future and what they look for you. Do not set yourself up for failure and for regret in the future. Regret is the worst feeling. If we know that we'll regret not obeying our parents in the future and we have something to do about it now, take action. Take the initiative. Be proactive. Don't reactively wait until your parents pass away to make dua. Ya Allah, please have mercy on me. Forgive me, I wasn't respectful of my parents. Well, what do you do now? And we ask Allah to hopefully reach a stage where both of our parents are content with us and are satisfied with us in our performance. Again, once your parent passes away, the opportunity is done. The case is closed. Alhamdulillah, you can set up some sadaqah jariyah, you can set up something for your parents, keep them in your dua, but you'll never be able to attain their pleasure should they pass away. Do not let whatever it is that's going on between your parent right now, if it's something bad happened in the past, if it's a disagreement, if it's a conflict, do not let that get in the way of respecting your parents and being obedient to your parents. Focus on the now. Reset your intentions, rethink your relationship with your parents, and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy on them just as they have mercy on you. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy on us and have mercy on them. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant us the ability to understand what our parents expect from us. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us if we have wronged our parents. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us if we've said anything that we shouldn't have said to our parents. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us if we've acted in a way that is displeasing to our parents. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to be content with us and with our parents, and for our parents to be content with us. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.